This is Sports Drive.
Welcome back into Sports Drive. Once again, I'm your host, Preston Moore. I mentioned we're going to talk about some games streaming on TPSN, Texas Panhandle Sports Network. Joining me to do that now is TPSN's very own Mike Roden. Mike, thank you for joining the show. Thanks for walking down the hall and coming on.
You interrupted my barbecue from the Chamber Barbecue, but that's okay.
I know. Yeah. I feel bad, but I also, part of me is just, it's a little bit of jealousy that I didn't get to have any.
Well, yeah. Maybe there'll be some left back in the day.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Knocking on wood right now. Let's talk a little bit about some of these games going on. Tonight, obviously, the big one tonight is Monterey and Tascosa out at Dick Bivens Stadium. This is streaming on TPSN, 7 p.m. if you can't make it out to the game. Also streaming on News Channel 10 too, if I'm not mistaken, right? So it'll be streaming live wherever you're watching this show right now, tonight at 7. This is a big game for Tascosa.
This is a big game for both teams, but yeah, as far as we're concerned, especially for the Rebels, since they're off to a very slow start in district play, and they just, only have one win at this point in the season, which is almost unheard of for Tascosa. In fact, Coach Plunk said in one of the interviews we did with him, it's been like a decade since they've really been in this kind of position where they're struggling just to find wins. And so it's unknown territory for these guys, and for whatever the reasons, there's still a lot to play for, and they can definitely right the ship quickly with a win over Monterey. Now, it's not going to be easy. We know Monterey is a much improved team. They went winless last season, and you look at them this season, they look like a totally different team. Just, guys growing up, the coach getting his system, more installed there, and so it's a good Monterey team, and they are on a 3-game losing streak, but they've played some really tough teams the last 3 weeks and lost to those teams. So, no disgrace there. Rebels are going to have a hard time, I think. They're going to have to put something together offensively. That's what has been such a surprise, is with, the talent and athleticism that Tascosa possesses, they've just not been able to find the right mix or right chemistry on offense. And they've left the defense exposed, and it just has not been, a typical Rebel season for sure. So if they can find some consistency on offense somehow, some way, then, I think they've got a chance to be able to beat Monterey and to kind of get things jump-started here.
Yeah, I'm very interested in this game. That was one thing that I had Coach Plunk on our show at X-Bar on Monday night at X-Bar Steakhouse. If you haven't been, we're at X-Bar Steakhouse Monday nights at 7 p.m. Definitely you should come out, be a part of our live audience, watch this show live. But we had Coach Plunk on this past Monday, and, he talked a lot about righting the ship and finding ways to make sure that his kids are able to get back on track. Because, and one thing that I said to him, a 4-2 district record is not out of question. We know Tascosa is a talented team. We know they have one of the best coaching staffs in the Panhandle. We know these things about Tascosa, and we know that they already have Emerald High and Abilene out of the way in their district schedule, meaning that the rest of their district schedule, obviously, it will be challenging, obviously, but Emerald High and Abilene are two of the tougher teams they were going to face in that district schedule. Those guys are out of the way now. What I'm focused on with this Monterey game is, Tascosa's defense really needs to be able to step up. You mentioned the offense not being able to put points on the board. That has been a struggle for them, certainly was a struggle in that Emerald High game. But looking at the rest of their games, their defense has been allowing really high-scoring games. The lowest scoring game outside of their opening weekend win against Palo Duro, outside of that, the lowest points they've allowed was against Hereford. And that game was shortened by rain, and Hereford still dropped 26 on them. Every other team has scored at least 42, if not into the 60s with Midland Legacy.
Yeah.
And when you look at that, you say, well, Tascosa, we expect them to win. We've come to expect that. We know that they're talented. But their offense won't really be able to give them much of a chance, but their offense won't be able to keep them in the game if their defense doesn't give them a chance to stay in the game. And this is a Monterey team that you mentioned 3 straight losses, but losses against good teams, including an undefeated Friendship team that they took to quadruple overtime a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that game was an incredible game. I watched some of that online, and Monterey looked really good in that ball game, as you said, against a 6A undefeated team. So that tells you what kind of strides the Plainsmen have made in their program. And you know, they're thinking the same thing as Tascosa. Hey, we can get on a run here, and we can possibly snag a playoff berth. But as you said, the schedule does favor Tascosa in that they've got two very tough ones out of the way. Still have to play Lubbock Cooper, of course, but you know, if they can beat Monterey, and then they've got Coronado and Caprock all kind of in the mix for that final playoff berth, then you know the Rebels can certainly do that. But you make a good point. They've not been good really on either side of the ball.
It's been a struggle.
You know, when you look at the names they lost off of that, in particular the defensive side of the ball last year, with Avian Carter, Tayton Barnes, Lincoln White, on and on it goes. I mean, they lost not only some great athletes and talented athletes, but some leadership.
Yeah.
And to me, that's been one of the issues I think Tascosa's had. They just have not been able to find the leadership that they've had from some of these players in the past. And there's, you know, several reasons for that, but one of the guys that was supposed to be a big leader and a big go-to guy, you know, gets hurt in the first game of the season, Trayshawn Wilson. And so, you know, it's just been a struggle for the Rebels. But that being said, you know, once it kind of clicks and if they have some success maybe early in this game against Monterey, get a little bit of confidence, because I think they did play better in the second half of last week's game against Abilene, showed some positive signs, and maybe that can carry over into this game, hopefully. You know, if they don't win this game, it is going to be a huge uphill battle just to make the postseason.
Yeah, it's do or die for these teams. It's do or die for Tascosa, the team that we're concerned in our viewing area with.
Sure.
It's do or die for Tascosa. Certainly rooting for the Rebels this weekend. Hopefully they can turn it around. Want to talk a little bit about some of the other games going on TPSN. A full slate of games going on tomorrow night. Five games.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. Really stretches us to the limit with 5 games in one night. 3 of those will be on the road, which makes it even more difficult. But some great matchups, huge games, and including the game of the week right here at News Channel 10, you know, West Plains and Seminole. It just doesn't get any better. Those two teams both look very, very strong in what they do. Greg Pointer, of course, the former Pampa coach now at Seminole. He's always been one of the favorites when he was in this area. Everybody liked Greg Pointer. He's still same kind of guy there at Seminole, and he's got the people there and the program really moving up. They've been strong the last few years, and they are a high-flying, exciting offensive team. They like to get it going. They play tempo.
Averaging over 50 points a game.
They put it in the air, and they will get after you. So, and they've got the talent to do it. Their quarterback's got some great stats, a lot of touchdown passes, not many interceptions on the year. And then they spread it around. Their 3 running backs, I think, are averaging like over 6 and 7 yards per carry. Their top 3 running backs, and then they've got some great receivers. So, man, you know, you say Seminole's really talented. They are. Then you flip that coin over and you say West Plains, we know the
also
kind of talent
really talented,
that they have. So
absolutely.
That just really shapes up to be a great game.
It's going to be a great game in West Plains. You know, obviously a district opener on one hand, but also West Plains has beaten 2 undefeated teams in a row. They're hoping to beat a third.
Wouldn't that be something?
That
3 undefeateds in a row.
Would be really impressive. We're out of time. We're going to actually bring you back for our Pick'em segment here in just a moment, but we're going to send you back to the office to do it over there.
Being relegated to the office.
All right, just to recap though, TPSN, if you want to watch any of these games or listen to any of these games, you can do that on newschannel10.com. Tonight, 7 p.m., there will be Monterey and Tascosa. Friday night, tomorrow night, we'll have 5 games, Seminole, West Plains, Abilene High, and Caprock. Those 2 games will be streamed on newschannel10.com with video streams included, correct?
Yes.
And then our audio streams include a couple away games, Amarillo High at Lubbock Cooper, Randall at Dumas, and Paladaro at Lubbock High. If you can't make it out to those games, make sure you listen to them on TPSN or watch some of those with the video streams. Mike, once again, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you for our Pick'ems here in just a second.
I'll be back here in just a minute.
All right, sounds good. We'll be right back with more Sports Drive after this break.